Welcome to Pod is Killing Me presents But Like a Hole. An ongoing series we'll be doing covering the industrial butt rock crossover of the early 90s. Jeff, do you wanna take it? You're the expert here. This is kind of gonna be an education for me as well as the listener. I'm a casual fan of this stuff. I love Nine Inch Nails. I think they're sort of the progenitor of this. Every band is trying to sound like Head Like a Hole on these early records. That's kind of why we're calling it Butt Like a Hole.
Also, it's a fantastic name.
It's just, yeah, that's amazing. Thanks, Jeff, for that one. But yeah, if you want to take it away, you're gonna be our fountain of knowledge on this one.
Yeah, thanks, man. So the whole point of this series is we were talking at length about how there was this tiny trend in the early through mid 90s, right before nu metal, where it seemed like there was going to be like Nine Inch Nails might be the next thing. And I think we've referenced this a few times, that there was like an attempt, there was all these gold rush attempts post grunge, like an attempt to try to get ahead of the curve and never let themselves be caught off guard again. And so that's kind of what happened. And like the main key bands you'll probably hear us talk at most about when we get through this is going to be like Stabbing Westward, Filter, Gravity Kills. There'll be a few others we'll be covering along the way. But like I'd say those are like the three main guys, because they're the three ones who probably made the most, had the biggest like level of minor hits and got used in a lot of soundtracks for a lot of movies for the same scene in every movie. We already touched on Gravity Kills for Mortal Kombat, which also featured, oddly enough, Stabbing Westward. So as you can see, there's a theme here.
Yeah, we didn't get to touch on Stabbing Westward since they were omitted from the soundtrack album.
Yeah. Who knows what could have been had they actually got to stay on there.
Oh, wow.
We may have been doing a show about them instead.
We'd be living in a different world, let me tell you that.
It just shows the Twin Towers are still there.
It just shows the Twin Towers falling in reverse.
Yeah. Like the world's shittiest butterfly effect. Instead of the poster's Ashton Kutcher's face, it's the singer's face.
Post all his surgeries or what?
Oh, no, they're all reversed too.
Well, that works out great for him.
Yeah, exactly. And the viewer. Yeah. Anyway, so the main thing we were going to probably do with this is go through that kind of a funny, odd little trend that kind of happened, that kind of existed concurrently with all the other stuff we'll be covering anyway. But I guess before we would do that, we kind of would want to look back a little bit and understand, like, where did this stuff all come from, and how did it all show up all at once in the mid-90s? So we were going to go back a little bit to kind of go a little bit into the history, kind of a quick, real fast primer on industrial music, with a lot of recommends for anyone who's into that kind of music, or if, let's say, you're kind of a beginner fan of like even Nine Inch Nails and stuff, and you want to know where else to go beyond just maybe Ministry. It's like there'll be some things beyond them to recommend along the way, because it's a genre that changes a lot, primarily due to technology. Like, oh, new drum machines are out. Guess what's going to sound different? All this music. You know? So
yeah, I'd say that the early stuff is music for sickos and freaks.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? That might be the best headline to start this one out with, because that's exactly where we're going to start. Is we'll have to start. Really, industrial music really begins in the UK, doesn't it? Like, at least the main bands you could think of will be like
doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, doesn't it, mate? You know, the home of all sickos and freaks, the United Kingdom. It all began when Jimmy Savile got his first drum machine. Oh, you can fiddle the kids with this, then, isn't it? You know, it's just like, I don't even know how he talks, but yeah, it certainly ain't like that. And that would probably be the major band. Probably the unfortunate godfathers, and I do say unfortunate for a variety of reasons, would probably be Throbbing Gristle. Yeah. Super creative, very interesting, extremely, like, this is like the confrontational school of industrial music, where it feels more like performance art than anything else.
Not fun to listen to.
It feels like it would soundtrack like a very avant-garde horror movie. Most of their stuff sounds like that. It's a lot of like it's true industrial, I guess is what you call it, because it literally sounds like factories and decaying towns, and it sounds like ambient noise. And they had a really terrifyingly strange leader, Genesis P. Orge, who probably is part of the more like strange occultic type personality that if anyone ever went to a bunch of noise shows, sometimes you run into those types there. You'll see people who have like things that you think are satanic, but then they're so satanic they kind of look Hindu. Like the weird symbols. Like, oh, there's the Baphomet head, I've seen that. And then you're like, wait, was that Shiva? You know, like you start seeing like stuff, and that's when you know these people are the real deal. Get away from them. Lots of Nazi imagery gets used in that sort of thing, but yeah, that music is pretty out there. The other one that like I don't know, should we reference this or not, would be Suicide.
I mean, I would consider it along the same lines as something like early Throbbing Gristle. Like
I kind of do
that
too.
far removed, but
yeah,
I didn't think of that. I didn't think of them.
Yeah,
you know, when we were talking about doing this.
I guess they kind of matter in the sense that they're like maybe the first American group that's kind of like this. So it's like,
okay,
you know, it's kind of like the difference between like the Ramones or the Sex Pistols, I guess. You know.
Blues rider, motorcycle hero. He's a looking so cute. Sneaking round in a blue jumpsuit. Blues rider, motorcycle hero.
There's the American breed, and their version has like more of like a rockabilly feel. The songs kind of have more pop music feel to them, but like and theirs sounds weirdly even cheaper. It sounds like you can almost hear like the hiss the whole time. There's always like a like noise that's constantly on that album. But Alan Vega has like an amazingly cool voice and like a really powerful charismatic presence that like makes him kind of it's like he's trying to be Gene Vincent or something singing on there. And just
like the repetition of those albums is like it's kind of hypnotic.
Yeah, it's got a Lynchian vibe to it. So it's like the atmosphere of Eraserhead, but then it crosses over to something you'd think you'd hear from like Wild at Heart. You know, like it just crosses over like it's weird periods of romance for like a song like Cherie or like Dream Baby Dream.
I'm picturing, you know, the song that James sings in Twin Peaks. But with a drum machine behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Like they could easily be in that universe. So yeah, like they exist that way. They have that same thing that like maybe the earliest record of the first Doors album does, where it kind of hints at a weird darkness that kind of exists. There's like a sinister edge to like the music underneath it, which makes it kind of cool and fun. All of those, both of the, like, at least Suicide sounds the most human of the bands. Like, there's the most human, like, feeling behind them. Because Throbbing Gristle sounds extremely detached but confrontational. And then comes the third variety, which is probably the variety I'm most comfortable with, which would be Cabaret Voltaire. Which, to me, is, like, three fucking nerds sitting in a room with, like, a pile of, like, electronics and, like, guitar pedals and just... like, what if we do this? What if we run this through this many things? What would it sound like? And that's kind of what they sound like. And I would say the most representative song for each of them, I'd say for Throbbing Gristle might be... I would use part of What a Day because it's not their most famous song, but it's definitely like the easiest way to go, oh, okay, I see what this is. For Suicide, what do you think? What do you think their song should be? Would it just be Ghost Rider?
Yeah. That's a good one.
Because, like, you really don't go wrong on that. And it's a song that, like, is so cool that it sounds kick-ass whenever it's covered. Except for Rollins' band. It's the one time I was like, I don't like this. And for Cabaret Voltaire, for the early stuff, I would use Nag Nag Nag. That song's really cool, and you kind of get an idea of what this is. It almost has a punkish energy to it. But yeah, so that's kind of what early industrial music sounds like. There's other bands that are on the periphery in different places. There's SPK. There's like super bizarre like musique concrete groups like Nurse with Wound. There's bands whose names I can't fucking pronounce from Germany. Who the hell? What is that first name in that Neubauten band?
Oh, Einstürzend Niebauten or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how the fuck to say that. They're kind of cool.
Yeah, they are. And they're like almost on a performance art level of strange, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember back when Netflix streaming first started, and there was like good shit on there. Still.
Yeah.
There was a live concert video from them on the Netflix streaming thing that I watched. I'd never really listened to them. I just knew, I'd seen the names since I was familiar with some of those early industrial bands, but it was like a more recent one from like the 2000s, but it was fucking really cool. There, I seem to remember there just being a lot of people on stage and a lot of very strange things used for percussion, like true industrial sounds, like
it's like found sound stuff,
like just like hitting, just like hitting pieces of metal with weird mallets and stuff.
That shit's fucking cool. I mean, apparently they used to use like fucking power tools on stage and shit like that. It's funny that heavy metal was called that and not fucking early industrial. Since one of them actually uses heavy metal, Now, heavy metal, like, if you're not dressed like a leather daddy, you're not in a metal band, apparently. Alright, so I was gonna say, where was I about that? Oh, yeah, so basically we're into, like, the early 80s at this point. The Robin Gristle completely breaks up. They split off into various little things. This is where the industrial era for me gets kind of good, though, is I like where it kind of shows up around like the early 80s, like when you get to like 82, 83. That's to me where it starts to get kind of good, because I do kind of prefer things with a little bit of a pop music aesthetic, and I do like new wave and dance music, and it starts to cross-pollinate. I mean, even groups like Depeche Mode kind of had an industrial bent around like 83, 84. Like a song like Pipeline is all like sampled. It's the same thing. They themselves said they were influenced by Neubauten with that they saw what they were doing, and so they went and wanted to do it themselves.
On this golden day, work's been sent our way that could last a lifetime. Working on the pipeline from the hearts of our land to the mouth.
And Depeche Mode also, weirdly enough, had a rule that all sequencers and synthesizers and drum machines never used presets. They could never use something that came with it. Every sound used when they had Alan Wilder in the band was something he had to make himself for every single...
Okay.
So every synth line, everything was something I want to make my own tone, so it's not like copyable by others.
That's cool.
So that's where you get them like sampling themselves, like starting Dave Gahan's car and letting the motor run, and that's like the percussion for Stripped. You know, it just has that motor going dunk, 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 you know. It's like some cool shit, but to me it gets really fun when it gets really, really beat heavy. And basically when Adrian Sherwood kind of shows up in the picture, this is gonna be a series where I think the person most important next to Trent Reznor is gonna be like 3 or 4 major producers within this scene. Because all the butt bands who get big, they all hire those producers kind of as a way of being like, look, I got John Fryer on my team. Like, and famously, Gravity Kill's first album succeeds entirely because of John Fryer, I think. Because you hear the second album without him, and holy shit, is it bad. Sorry.
Still getting over that cold?
Yeah, man, it's rough.
And this is one that you're just taking the lead on too.
Yeah, it's okay.
You gotta talk a lot. Come on, shut the fuck up. Stop coughing.
Like I'm smoking the whole time. Yeah, man. So
smoking pole.
Smoking in the boys' room. But the you know what's funny that you can cover in industrial butt rock? Oh my god, do you know what can be covered like in passing? Generation Swine.
Oh.
Because in more than one way, they try to adapt Nine Inch Nails into their aesthetic.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And including a music video that looks horrible. It looks like the worst wannabe Marilyn Manson video I'd ever fucking seen. It has all the hallmarks. It literally looks like they just reshot the Tourniquet video.
Oh God!
So like that will come back to that guy.
Was that with John Corabi?
No, it was after him. With John.
Wait, so was it? Vince again?
Yeah, it was when they forced Corabi out and they brought Vince back.
Oh God, I've got to see Vince in a Nine Inch Nails Marilyn Manson ripoff.
Yeah, and like the music just sounds really shitty. And what it is it's one step, it's like one tentative footstep in and then a quick retreat out. And because they have Vince and he's so limited as what he can do, it just like none of it worked. Well, it didn't work anyway, but it really doesn't work because of him. We're Generation Swine, you know, it's like it just doesn't fit for him at all.
It's like, yeah, dude, I'm looking at you. I see.
Generation Swine was just him announcing his new overweight era.
He looks like he's the way that he's gained weight, he's become more, his face is, and also the surgeries he got for that VH1 show.
Oh my Jesus Christ.
His face looks so like pig-like now. He looks like one of the pig cops from Duke Nukem.
He kind of sounds like one if you shoot him.
I'd like to.
Fire it up. You know, it's like a Duke Nukem quote, then you just have a wah! Like oh my god. He gained weight like he has a disease.
Yeah, he's very much like a bloated tick.
Yeah, like he's gained weight where it's just like I'm just looking ahead and my liver hurts. Like, oh my god,
my rib cage is just being slowly expanded by my internal organ swelling.
Oh my god.
It's like not on the outside of his bones. It's like on the inside.
Yeah, they're inside his rib cage is all huge. It's strange your pectoral muscles are so small because your rib cage is massive. They're gonna describe his skeleton when he dies the same way they describe the giant, like the people from The Shadow over Innsmouth's heads. Where they find like the skull with the crown that's all shaped clearly for like fish people. You know, and he's kind of like, the way the head was so elongated and the surface was much more rounded than normal. Jesus, man. I'm sorry. It was not bothering me, but I haven't really had to talk like this in a while, so.
No, yeah. No. Just, you You better stop it. It's okay though, but stop. I'm just kidding.
I had
do you think we can continue? Or do you
Yeah,
wanna...
no, I could do it. Fine.
Okay.
If it gets any worse, I might just maybe hit an inhaler up, which is out there, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem. It's just it dries out so bad and it starts making me cough.
Yeah.
But so like, what was I saying about that? Oh yeah, so we get into the fun era of industrial to me, which is where like Adrian Sherwood kind of starts showing up, and you start getting the bands that to me are kind of like the more fun ones, which is like your Ministries, your Skinny Puppies, Front 242. God, I'm trying to think. Is there any other major guy right there at the moment that I want to mention? But those are kind of the guys I want to think about and focus on, particularly Ministry, because they kind of move things into the next direction. With Twitch, which is produced by Adrian Sherwood, that name's going to come up a lot. And put in a song like even just the opening track, like Just Like You.
What's the matter, Eddie? Does it frighten you? Frighten me? No, Frank. I think startle is a better word.
Standing on corners and begging for quotas for what?
When you hear the sound to it, it's like kind of like it's got all the hallmarks of like what you would call like early like electronic dance music. It feels like the music in RoboCop when they show like a futuristic club and everyone's dancing. like an old version of the future. Like it feels like it's kind of like what they thought people would be dancing to in cyberpunk books.
Right.
like yeah, all these clangs and stuff, and everyone's just getting down to like really odd, like super heavy bass drum and like just a lot of like kind of like odd noises coming off in the background. But yeah, so and Adrian Sherwood produces maybe my favorite of all the 80s industrial albums, which is fucking Code by Cabaret Voltaire.
Yeah, I love that album.
That album, like, and it's hard to even pinpoint which song it's going to be my favorite on there. But what's funniest to me is it feels like Cabaret Voltaire almost wanted to do what the R&B group The System was doing. It felt like they were taking a slight tentative toe toward that direction.
A lot of that R&B stuff has like such hard-hitting drum machines from back in that era.
Oh.
Like that Control, Janet Jackson has like such a, like the drum machines on that are just so fucking sick.
Oh,
like,
dude,
I don't know.
You could put that on you could easily have put that on a Ministry record at the time from that time period, or like Skinny Puppy you never could, because they're kind of their own thing that kind of exists outside of all the other trends. Like they're much more collage heavy and stuff, but like, no, you could put them on a Front 242 record or even a Revolting Cocks album. They would make total sense on any of that. But basically, industrial moves out of the UK, and by the mid 80s is just kind of exists alongside like Chicago house music and like techno out of Detroit, all of that stuff, that whole stew. There's just like American like Midwest thing happening. But for some reason it's super dance heavy. And there's all these fun things we're going to definitely put in there. Like I'll give the whole list of what we can add in there. And then we get the final weird crossover, which is probably going to be what happens, where like the very first tentative step towards where this is going to be going, which is, of course, we have to now start the frenzied hi-hat of Stigmata. Once Stigmata hits, that's the beginning of like, okay, that era of industrial's over. we've entered a new era. Most people think of Land of Rape and Honey as like, rightfully so, as like the big breakthrough for that sort of thing.
So like more guitar heavy stuff is coming.
But they weren't the only ones, because we also had Godflesh.
Yeah.
But they were doing it in a slightly different way, because it's not super sample heavy or anything, but it is got like the drum machine thing. And I guess if you want to say drum machines and heavy guitars, or just really metallic guitars, I would use also kind of, you could throw Big Black into there as well. Of kind of like just showing that is a thing that's happening.
I never think of Big Black as like industrial.
Me neither, because to me they're a hardcore punk band with a drum machine.
Yeah,
because they don't use like weird like dehumanizing like repetition the same way that like even Ministry still was doing. Like because and it's like it's very like workman like drum machine. Like it's not like, it's just like pretty much bass and snare. And there might be some, there might be like some hi-hat in there or something, but it's pretty much just like do-do-da-do-do-do-da-do-do-do-da-do. Like there's no like interesting like little like percussive flourishes like you get with like Cabaret Voltaire. Yeah, you're not going to get anything. You're not getting a Here to Go from Big Black.
Right.
Although that would be the funniest thing to hear, is Steve Albini yelling, "Line up, get serious," Although, like I said, the way he covered James Brown's The Big Payback, it's like maybe he could try to make it different, but...
Sorry, just to go back, were Cabaret Voltaire from the UK?
Yeah, they were too.
Okay.
They were from Sheffield. There is a fantastic documentary, though. I highly recommend. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's called Synth Rule Britannia, and it literally opens just kind of the openings of like the earliest electronic music. It has to cover Kraftwerk and everything, and then that's the primer to understanding the 70s and 80s bands. And it just kind of ends within like the 80s. And it's just kind of like the peak era of like synth pop. But basically where all that had started. And so they interview all those guys. And what's funny about them is when they did that shit, they would get booed or riots would start. People be throwing shit, like places would erupt in huge brawls.
Cabaret Voltaire?
All of them. Throbbing Gristle too. Throbbing Gristle was different.
Okay, yeah.
Because
that makes sense with Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah, Throbbing Gristle would literally try to like make people like, they would try to do like brown notes on people and shit. Which like now I think to myself that's less like haha, fuck you audience, and I think that's probably some sick weird like fetish that Genesis probably had.
Yeah, no, it was part of some sort of like Crowleyan ritual they were performing.
Oh my god, I forgot to mention one of the
everyone shit, and they would summon Chorons on the destroyer. The fuck?
I'm sorry, but that ideology makes it sound like fucking Pokemon. And then we're gonna get Charizard, it's like, I'm the fuck
Charizard. Oh fuck! Holy shit! I think I agree with the evangelicals. Pokemon is satanic.
Yeah,
Charizard. Put Chorons on. That's a little too close for comfort for me.
You're looking at Pokemon cards and you look carefully and you're like, if you hold the card up to the light, it becomes a black sun.
Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic.
Speaking of which, I almost forgot one of probably the finest of all the bands from that period is fucking Coil.
Yep.
Great pop culture history moment of industrial music, of course. It turns out this was a huge rumor, but you can hear it for yourself. If you want to hear how industrial music of the Coil-like variety was perceived by the general public, watch the opening, and it exists just as the opening, so you don't have to watch the actual fight. This file exists by itself. It is Mike Tyson fighting for the championship belt to unify the 3 titles, Michael Spinks. He decided to make his entrance into the ring to music that people thought, a lot of people mistakenly believed it was Coil. They thought it was the song How to Destroy Angels, but it's not. But it sounds, so apparently they had someone make this for him. And it sounds fucking amazing. And he comes out to the ring, but he takes forever to come out there. And you literally hear the announcers freaking out over this. They're like, oh, there's some kind of loud droning sound. What I'm hearing is
like chains clanging in the distance.
Yeah, they're all probably what Mike's gonna do to him. You know, like you gotta hear, like it was
an amazing clip.
It was such good theater, and it was just the idea of like, yeah, you knew like loud riffs or I'm gonna knock you out kind of shit is one thing. That's something you're familiar with. This other thing just sounded unfathomable to like someone else in the ring, and the other guy looks like he was like ready to throw in the towel before it began. The fight,
yeah, it was like it's like the what is playing in the Hellraiser dimension. It's
yes,
like the Cenobite soundtrack.
It's a completely what it was. I know what, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like some unused coil for Hellraiser.
Coil is like one of the ones that really can unnerve me with some of their stuff. Like sometimes they will like, I'm not like a, super familiar with their whole catalog, but there's a couple records that I listened to, back in my early 20s when I was delving into this stuff. And it was like, if anyone out there is familiar with the Silent Hill video games, there's no doubt in my mind that the composer in those games listened to Coil.
I'm thinking of one song in particular.
So incredibly just like discordant and unnerving, and it just the way it builds and repeats.
Fucking amazing.
I can't remember. It was like, I think it's like, I can't remember the name of the specific. There's a specific Coil
At the Heart
song.
of It All? Is it called?
That what it is?
It's a third track on the album Scatology, At the Heart of It All. It's really slow, piano based, but it just feels deeply. The Tenderness of Wolves is fucking scary sounding too. It's very weird. They do a really creepy cover of Tainted Love, which was apparently, I think, about AIDS at the time.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God. So it makes it sound like a fucking funeral death march and everything. And it's like, God, man, because you forget what a dark time that shit was back then,
Yeah. And they were both gay, right? They were both gay men.
Wait, what? No, I'm just kidding.
I see you like throwing a bunch of CDs out your window.
Yeah, I still have. I'm holding them so you can clearly see them, and I'm just tossing them out.
Like the guy's like throwing away all their Bud Light and stuff.
You know what I love is these assholes. I can see his 6-figure fucking lifted truck and his like one of his 8 mini fridges filled with fucking beer he's throwing away in his airport hangar sized garage. And it's
I saw the same video you're talking about.
And I'm
fucking, oh my God.
Like, what a fucking pussy. Like, no, seriously, you've won.
Seriously.
If I had what you had, dude, I would never think about this shit ever again.
Stop. Right. Yeah. Seriously. Stop fucking bitching, you giant pussy. You have a fucking aircraft carrier for your fucking, or an aircraft hangar for your fucking lifted truck.
I love the idea that like someone was like, yeah, I'm cool with gay people, and then he's gonna be like, you know what? I have to let that ruin my day.
Right.
One of my 8 in-ground pools, I'm sure I have. I'm just gonna be sitting in there like, I don't even turn the heater on. I'm gonna get in there so mad it's gonna heat the pool up. Yeah. I'm just gonna get in the pool and it's gonna start bubbling because I'm gonna be so pissed.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, Coil. That's another. We were talking about Coil. They were a Throbbing Gristle
spinoff,
offshoot, right?
Yeah, kind of. In a really weird way.
Sleazy Pete was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a weird thing. If we're gonna do like an industrial primer one of these days, this is kind of half one anyway. One of the things that's interesting about early, or like the first generation and a half of industrial, is the level of very unsavory characters who kind of show up in this. There's a lot of people who, they seem strange, and there's like a faction of them who seem very much like they were like in a weird cult.
Or I mean, in the case of Genesis Peorage, trying to start a weird cult.
Yeah, like Nevixium should have been the name of an album of theirs.
You mean Nex? It's just Nexium.
Nexium. Oh, is that what it's called? I don't know. Yeah, I just
Nexium.
Oh, okay. It all just looks like some.
I'll edit it out so you don't sound stupid.
Everyone, yeah, because all the listeners, man, they're massive fans.
Right. Yeah.
They're big Rainier heads.
But yeah, a lot of that early industrial stuff, you get a lot of like just very like esoteric occult stuff in there, like the see the black sun rise.
You
to
could
the Solar Lodge or whatever.
I have said over and over again to myself that song, especially the way it begins, you could make a fake A24 horror movie trailer with that song.
See the black sun rise in the solar lodge. See the black sun rise in the solar lodge.
Especially
Oh,
just
yeah,
the beginning
I
where
can
it's
see
just, where once again, this is a great example. It opens with like a metal piece hitting, like going like dunk dunk, dunk dunk, and then like the other piece starts hitting dunk 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 dunk, right? And it's, God, I'm doing way too much fucking percussive sounds, but
This is a preview for our 9 Inch Nails
oh yeah,
series.
We're just gonna do that the whole time.
Which, I mean, that's a little heads up to our listeners. If anyone's a 9 Inch Nails fan, that's who we'll be tackling when we reach the end of the Typo Negative albums. We'll be doing
Unless they make a new record, you know. Well, they won't. Why not?
Oh shit, we haven't figured that out yet. We haven't gotten to the end of the Typo Negative story.
Someone tells me he died.
So.
They tell me he died, and I get all mad, like spoiler alert. But so yeah, horror elements do creep in a lot with with industrial music in a way that like kind of makes it a bit of a cousin to like goth in a way. Although goth feels more theatrical, like in a at least early industrial feels much more horrifying in a much stranger kind of way. It's more it feels more effective as horror movie music. Goth is music about horror movies.
Right. Oh, you know another band I was gonna say is obviously this would be more like no wave, but early Swans almost has an industrial feel.
Everything up to like 87 is 100%, especially those two Greed and Holy Money and the single A Screw.
Yeah.
If you wanted to understand just in general, like that would probably be almost the best primer you could just give someone. Like, give me one song to explain what this sounds like from this era. Just use that. That massive ass drum, it's got the same thing, like total repetition. The guitars don't sound like nice guitars with riffs into them. It just sounds like a sheet of fucking angry metal, like being shredded at you. Like you almost expect your like sparks. It's like if Freddy Krueger's glove sliding on a rail could be a guitar, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah, that's a good one, and also "Time Is Money," Bastard.
Yeah.
That song. I hate to do the percussion again, but the percussion on that, just the it's just. And just Michael Gira in the background, just building up. It's like, holy shit. I mean, the lyrics to that are pretty rough.
Yeah, you should be violated.
Considering, the allegations, but...
oh my God, man. That's the biggest bummer of my life to hear that.
I'm a Michael Gira defender.
She knew what she was doing. I don't know what this accusation is to even speak out. You know what? You know who the
believe women, except Michael Gira's accuser.
Do you know who the accuser?
I'm kidding, but
I
don't need to have the music I listen to. I judge it on a scale. The personalities. If they're very, very abhorrent, yeah, it sours the music for me. But the Michael Gira thing, there's enough gray area to it to where I can be like, it's a little troublesome, and I'm gonna have my eye on him. Believe you me. Yeah. If I hear one more thing about him, I might stop listening to the music, maybe. But
okay, so it's not like Arcade Fire.
No, fuck that guy. I'm gonna kill him. You heard that right. Everyone spread the word. I'm gonna kill the guy from Arcade Fire for not caring that woman had a boyfriend.
I thought it was that like they went out together and then she was gonna have him show up at a party and he's like, yeah, I can't make it.
That was one of them too. But
okay.
there's a second article about another accuser that he dated, and it was, she had a boyfriend and he didn't care that she had a boyfriend. He still wanted to fuck her. So it was yeah.
Man,
it's just so. I'm gonna have to cut all that shit out.
Yeah, but it's funny. I was gonna make one joke about Michael Gira though.
According to our Spotify statistics, most of our audience is male anyway.
Oh yeah, that's right. To our one female listener, turn this off.
And what's up to our non-binary listeners?
Yeah, hello. Hey, yeah, welcome aboard.
Thanks for listening. But anyway, what were you gonna say about Michael Gira?
Also, if the pronouns are plural, can that count for 2 listens for 1?
Yeah, if you right, yes. If you are a he, she, they, please
that's what we got to be doing, man.
With that is
no, it's right? It's like double albums. The sales count for 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
probably offensive. But.
You know what? Whatever, man. My point is like that's a demographic we got to be going after. Which means let's go back and re-record everything we said about Genesis Peorage, removing all the references to. No, Genesis was on some other thing.
I was gonna say, yeah. In order to support our non-binary listeners, we will cease criticizing Genesis Peorage for any of that Nazi shit or any of the cult stuff, whatever. Yeah. But.
Look, Genesis literally had a disability where they couldn't not support Nazis. But we were on something with that. Oh yeah, also I was going to make a joke that Michael Gira's accuser, Amber Heard. It's like, just make it worse. Oh man. Where the fuck was I in any of that? We were talking about Coil and how fucking kick-ass they were. One other guy in that realm, because he was part of Coil and he collaborates with a lot of other artists here, is J.G. Thirlwell, known as Fetus.
Fetus. Which Venture Brothers.
Yes, yeah. Guy becomes a composer later. I would say that is one of my he's a favorite artist of mine from that era to listen to, mostly because he has like an energy that feels completely insane, like as a performer. And I just kind of find that kind of interesting. He comes across like he's somehow very vile, but it's obviously he's playing a character. Like his mouth seems like it's got too much saliva in it or something, like he's spitting up blood. He's kind of talk like this. He kind of has that kind of thing he's doing, and just like really weird lines like, I'm gonna give me some of that hot horse. And I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't know, but I know it's gross. Like, you had an entire song just like saying, I like the way you fill out your clothes. I want to stick my head under your hose. And it's just on loop, and him shouting that repeatedly, like maniacally, And
he did some cool 9-inch stuff with 9 Inch Nails,
yes,
like remixing them.
Yeah, and he even in the 90s and stuff, he still had stuff that was pretty cool. He had probably one of the more interesting songs, I think at least, from a narrative standpoint, which was, okay, so like the song itself is called this and for a reason, but it says he had a song called English which was based off of voicemails
Sorry, that word just makes me laugh.
Which was
English, I mean.
It was based off of his version of an Eddie Murphy routine. It was his 10-minute stand-up bit, trying to recontextualize Eddie Murphy to a UK audience.
It was the Mr. T bit.
Yeah.
If Mr. T was English also, as well as gay.
You know what I realized is there was a few parts randomly in Delirious where Eddie Murphy, to me, I feel like kind of prefaces Come Town, where he's just like talking and he'll reference the Honeymooners and he goes, wait, what if the Honeymooners were gay? And then he starts doing an impression of them being gay, and I was kind of like, isn't that basically what the entirety of Come Town was?
Yeah, what if the Honeymooners were gay or Indian?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it was Come Town, it would just be like, what if they were also Chinese? You know?
What if they had Down syndrome?
Yeah. It was a funny show still somehow, and we paid money for it. But that show made way so much money, man. I can't believe it.
God damn.
It's fucking absurd. But yeah, so he had this really cool song like that. It was entirely based off of, I guess, answering machine messages and threatening like death threats he was getting. And so he reads that, basically he can recontextualize it as lyrics, and it's just very specific, hyper specific threats, which is funny because he's Australian, but they clearly don't know that, and they keep calling him an English
Soil panties nailed to the wall. I don't like being left in the sun. Nothing, man. I know where you're going. I know where you're hiding. Screw you like a figure. English faggot. English faggot. English figure. Nothing, man. You ain't nothing, man. Nothing, man. Nothing, man. Nothing, man. Nothing, man.
I was gonna say I don't think I knew that, but I was gonna ask if he was Australian,
Yeah.
because there is kind of like some of that stuff has like a birthday party vibe almost.
Yes, and yeah, he
Like
collaborates with him.
It's like it has more of like a chaotic, unhinged kind of feel as opposed to Throbbing Gristle.
Yeah,
something.
what like the birthday party's junkyard is to like the Cramps, because you're kind of like, oh, they're in the same vein. They're like spooky rockabilly-ish stuff. Like, no, they're much further than that. But you're right.
Yeah.
They tread on that territory, you know, but like where it's like old like bluesy riffs and stuff from the 50s, but they just take it to this extreme. And it's like, that's kind of what Fetus does in the same area. He takes this and stretches it to, and the fact that he became a composer kind of shows with a lot of his stuff, but his early work sometimes feels like it should be adjacent to like almost the Looney Tunes.
Right.
Like it's really fucking out there.
It's pretty incredible to go from that stuff. I mean, I feel like from that stuff to the Venture Brothers, but I feel they're like composing all the music for that, but I feel like there is a through line. I'm not super familiar with a lot of Fetus. You know, I know what I've heard you played for me back in the day, or what our mutual friend Richard played, because he was also a fan. Just remember like stuff like saxophones and stuff like that in Fetus, right?
Yeah, he kind of took like almost a no wave approach. There was a lot of like, so like, oh, you know what would really like get on your nerves? A really discordant horn, you know? So it's a lot of like blasts of annoying horns or something, and his voice is much higher in register usually. He only starts singing low when he's like playing a character. I will say he was funny as hell in interviews because he would always just say gross shit to whoever it was. Speaking of like being like gross and sexually harassing, remember he told like a female interviewer that like they asked him a question and all he said was, "A woman's place is on my face." And that's all he said. They just kind of stares off like nothing after that. like as if he's not really there. I was like, okay, I see what you're like. And then him, Nick Cave, Mark Almond of Soft Cell, and like Lydia Lunch all used to collaborate as a single group and stuff. So like,
okay.
Yeah, so like that school of it all exists, but it's funny because half of these people are going to show up in the 90s during the post-Nirvana frenzy. But in the meantime, the most closest thing you're going to get to like industrial going mainstream itself would be in the form of, it's going to be Ministry's the first guy who probably goes gold, I think, doing industrial music. And that's, I don't think Land of Rape and Honey does it. I think it's the one after, which is Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, which...
Are we gold?
I think it may have, or it may have gotten close. I know it's they sold well, and I think it's Psalm 69's the one that sells. I think that one goes platinum. Because if it did,
I had no idea. Like I mean, I knew that Psalm 69 had, what's like Jesus Build My Hot Rod or whatever, and there's like they kind of got some pop on MTV with that. But what was the single from Mind Is a Terrible Thing to Taste?
You know what's funny? It's not the one I thought it would be. I thought the single would have been Thieves, because that song fucking rules.
Yeah.
God, its peak position was 163 on the Billboard charts.
Hey, it charted.
Yeah, it still did.
It charted. Hell yeah.
But my God, it was certified gold by 1995. So it sold over 500,000 units. So yeah, it took a while to get there, but it did. The single was Burning Inside.
Will these dreams still follow me? On a bond from obscurity. Can't you see it up in the sky? It kicks you in the face and sets you dry. You never had the answers, and now you tell me the facts are blind. I really couldn't be bothered with you. Get out of my face, I want me die. Body inside.
That's so weird.
Yeah, which is a song I'm like, what? Like the best version of that. There's a special the live version of that is so much better because it opens with The Thing. It samples the movie The Thing and the music from it, and it does this extra long intro. And for live, they had like the double drummers on that tour. And then the other single was one of my favorite songs from them ever is So What. But
It's a kick-ass song.
yeah, that song fucking rules. But yeah, at that point on their mainstream songs, you can kind of hear like they kind of move more towards sounding like a hard rock band. And around this time, Jorgensen even takes over one Skinny Puppy record, which apparently divided that band completely. Like they never got over the fact that Ogre invited him. They felt like Ogre, he wants to be Mr. Rockstar now. He doesn't want to be like weirdo poetry reading guy in our band anymore. And so they hate...
He went Hollywood by having Al Jorgensen on the record.
Exactly.
Like...
Hollywood Ogre over here. A guy who calls himself that,
Ogre.
Yeah, and so they did... But that's
it's like, isn't like 08, like lowercase OH, capital G, lowercase R, like it's like sticky caps.
Yeah, it's very weird like that. I don't know why.
But, yeah, sorry.
No, but he did the album Rabies, and I think there's like one or two of the singles from that are actually pretty decent, but they're way clearly more straightforward sounding. And it's like, okay, this thing is for some reason bubbling forward. And
they're Canadian, right? Skinny Puppy?
Yeah, I think they're from Vancouver, and something about everything about them feels like they're from Vancouver. Like like if someone told me they were from like Quebec, I'd be like, nah, no, they're not.
Like that, yeah, no, they like they like to eat animals too much in Quebec.
Yeah, because like Quebec,
with
that's
like the
for
French influence.
Yeah, that's for like people who are somehow even more racist and being French. Like the most racist French people are from Quebec. Like Vancouver,
and then, like Skinny Puppy's like vegan.
Yes, and like they'll make references to shit that like makes me deeply sad about animals and stuff and about the environment. And I was like, yeah,
They
that
used to
tracks.
they used to I know they used to like project videos of like animals being tortured behind them, like during like the vivisect.
Yeah, and I was
whatever.
like, oh, I don't want to see that.
It's
And, like they're the reason I ever even heard of that movie, The Plague Dogs, and I was just one of those like, I think I wanted to cry after I even just read about the book because I was like, oh, that's too fun. I can't believe that happens. And so like I can't handle that stuff. So I stay largely away from them. Their production and stuff is fucking insane though, and it's like really interesting. Like Two Dark Parks.
Yeah, they have some really cool shit.
Like the Two Dark Parks production is just out there. Like in terms of cut and paste, back when you still had to like take out the film and like do the white chalk on it and cut and and edit all the stuff yourself. Like that album is amazing. But the main album that matters the most in this comes out in 1989. But no one really knows about it yet. It takes about a year for this to happen. That's going to be where our boy Trent Reznor shows up, and that's Pretty Hate Machine.
Got money, I'll do anything for you. Got money, just tell me what you want me to. Got money, nail me up against the wall. Got money, don't want everything, he wants it all. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me. Head like a hole, black as a soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Head like a hole, black as a soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Bow down before the one you serve.
Yep,
And
that's where it all starts.
Yep, and that's the guy who it takes about maybe a year and a half or 2 years, but through relentless touring, and Trent Reznor was smart in that he didn't just want to tour with industrial bands. He toured with Jesus and Mary Chain. He toured with like Peter Murphy. He was like, let's try to get this exposed. And he kind of, and what's funny about Pretty Hate Machine is I'd say half of it feels like it could have been a Depeche Mode album.
Yeah.
Like, it totally feels more like it could have been that. And, like, maybe the first 3 songs are really the closest thing you have to True Industrial. And then it's got, like, Sanctified slows it down. But also, something I can never have is, like, is that industrial music's first ballad?
I mean, you do have like Sin later on the album, which I feel like a lot of these butt industrial songs kind of have that feel of like Sin.
100%. Oh my god.
But yeah, like what you said, you know, about it sort of having like that Depeche Mode feel. You can just go listen to the demo, the Nine Inch Nails demo, Purest Feeling, to hear a little more of that sound. Because
and we
it's got
will
some,
be. We're going to be going over that in detail, my friend.
Again, if you like Nine Inch Nails, do not unfollow this podcast, because we fucking love Nine Inch Nails. We're going to do a whole series on them. It's going to be a lot longer than Typo Negative and probably harder to do, but we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely what's
tuned.
coming. It's what's coming around the corner, I suppose. After that, we'll like switch gears and just do like Joy Division or something.
We're going to do Huey Lewis in the News.
You have any how many albums they have?
Huey Lewis in the News?
Dude, you have no idea.
They're like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, like
releasing like 8 albums a year,
and they all sound so different. It's insane.
No joke, dude. I've gotten like 4 other King Gizzard albums, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm trying to pick up the back catalog, and then I looked, and they were all released in 2022. It's like, fuck, I'm not even done with this year, and they're good. That's what's crazy. It's like someone took Todd Rundgren when he was at his most high on mescaline and at his most prolific and just cloned that version of him like 50 times, and they're all writing different songs.
Right.
Because it's like every genre dumps around. They're fantastic.
Like, have you heard what the fuck's it called? Like, god damn it! It's like their like thrash album. It sounds like Kill 'Em All era Metallica.
Oh, something about the rats. It has the word rats in it, right?
Yeah, like Infest the Rat's Nest.
I think I do have that one.
Like that.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It's so sick. I think there's like one song I was gonna say. I can't. It's like I can't keep up with them. I was gonna say, oh, there's a song on their newer album.
It's like, nope.
That sort of sounds akin to that, but it's like, oh no, that was last year. So they've probably had like 7 since then.
So I'll get into something else real quick with this. So so Nine Inch Nails happens. Pretty Hate Machine hits. Pretty Hate Machine eventually goes triple platinum, but it's on an indie label. And it's like no indie album has ever sold that much before. Like that is like,
what label was it on?
TVT.
Oh, TVT. That's right.
The
that's
Mortal
right.
Kombat soundtrack.
Right. It's the home of. I knew them as the home of Seven Dust.
Which is why I never went there. It's like, oh, I don't need to go there. They're the home of Seven Dust.
Probably smells bad.
Yeah, it stinks in there.
It's like one of those houses you go to and they have like 3 big dogs that live inside. And it just
yeah, I know what you
anyway.
mean. And it seems like one of the dogs is always damp.
Yeah, one of them has some kind of skin disorder. Like if you touch it once, you can't get the smell off your hands for 72 hours.
I feel like that's the kind of what like the White House dogs have been like under Biden. They're always like biting people.
Are they even still around? Like I haven't heard anything about his dogs since the first year.
I think once he pulled out of Afghanistan and the media decided to no longer baby him, I think there was like, well, then we don't need these anymore, and God only knows what happened to them. I'm just scared because you know the T-1000 Mayor Pete's just been eyeing them up. He's just been waiting to like kill them like the T-1000 does. But oh yeah, so the Pretty Hate Machines becomes like an underground hit, but it's one of those that sells slowly over time, and it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then he gets a spot. He's on Trent Reznor gets on the inaugural Lollapalooza in '91. Like, okay. That's like a huge deal. And because like that entire set list is like strange. That had Body Count on it. Jane's Addiction was their farewell tour. Susie and the Banshees was on there. There was like a handful of like really odd bands on that. So he gets a lot of good exposure on that. The record picks up. It starts selling well enough. Clearly this picks up the ears of other people in that realm. Like, hey, I didn't know we can make these songs actually not sound completely dehumanizing. You can kind of give them like identifiable human emotions other than complete detachment,
Yeah, and just huge pop hooks too.
Yeah, holy shit, a chorus? You don't have to have Michael Gira just screaming, "You should be raped" over and over again. Which now feels like a fucking prophecy, but
shut up. No, I'm cutting that.
Bastard! Just like him yelling. But God, so that all happens. Basically, he ends up having a huge fucking fight with his record label. He can't record for a few years, so he can't follow up Pretty Hate Machine. He's stuck in like a weird contract dispute with them. It's going through courts, so that leaves a nice little opening. Ministry, though, is able to jump in on that, and they go, I think, platinum finally with Psalm 69. And that's Jesus Built My Hot Rod gets on MTV, because the difference also is that they don't have to get played on just like late night 120 minutes. They get played on regular MTV now, because post Nirvana, everything changes. So that gets on there. So does Just One Fix. NWO doesn't do quite as much, but they're all covered by Beavis and Butthead. Like, everything's changed for them. They're huge. They are on the second Lollapalooza tour, Ministry is. Where they immediately proceed to do so much heroin, they just ruin the rest of their career. So
I will stand up for Filth Pig. I feel like Filth Pig is a really underrated album.
You know what's funny? There's like 3 or 4 songs from them I fucking love on that, and I don't like the rest. It sounds really funny to say it. They sound castrated.
It's like, I feel like the songs I like on there feel like it sounds like Ministry, like interpreting the Melvins, like sludgiest songs.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put that, actually.
Like there's actually I'm not sure the track title, but there's a song where it's almost the same bass line as the Melvin song Night Goat, which I think I plugged into one of these episodes. I can't remember.
I'm not sure if it's that one or not, but I do know that you did plug them in, yeah.
Yeah, if I did, it's that song. So, yeah, from the album Houdini, which I think was 92 or 93 or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I feel like Filth Pig is, I feel like that one needs to be reevaluated.
It's not, see, that was given like an immediate dismissal as a huge failure, and it was commercially and critically, but I think critically it should be reassessed.
Was that the follow-up? Was that the follow-up to Psalm 69?
Yeah, and
okay.
it took 4 years.
That makes sense. Because that's like, it's a big change.
Yeah.
It's very like dirgy, and there's no faster paced stuff like on there. Like
I think one of their dirge songs is one of my favorite songs they ever did though, is The Fall.
Was that Land of Rape and Honey?
No, the Fall is on Filth Pig. It's it's got this amazing loud drum sound, and it has this weird pattern where it does like a dun 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 dun, shh bum bum, and then it does like and it kind of just does this thing where like the drums go high and then low, and you're kind of like, okay, this is like a weird beat that's taking forever to complete a cycle of, but when it comes around, it sounds cool, and then when the guitar comes in, it literally makes you feel depressed. Like the guitars feel like they pull you down. Like, and all the lyrics are like, everything is useless. Nothing works at all. Nothing ever matters. And it's just like this like extremely depressing, like you could tell this is clearly him at his like low point with heroin. And I was like, and you could feel, and it's like that one song that has the weird piano that starts coming in at the end, just kind of punctuating the song. And so it makes this odd counterpoint to like the extreme sludge doom guitar. Like check it out later. Like when you hear it again, you'll be like, oh yeah, this song's fucking bizarre. But I think
it's been a few years since I've listened.
But the percussion on it's so fucking good. But neither here nor there yet again. So we basically get brought up to about 1992, which is when Trent Reznor finally, his lawsuit is settled, and we find out, of course, they for legal reasons couldn't say this, but he had been recording secretly because anything he recorded would have been owned by TVT. But I think he was secretly recording and releases fucking Broken. And Broken wins a fucking Grammy. And that's the thing that's funny, is they win a Grammy for Wish, which I think Trent Reznor himself even just remembered saying, wow, like I could put that on my gravestone. I said fist fucking a song and then I won a Grammy for it.
This is the first day of my last day. Build it out, now take it apart. Climbed up real high, now fall and then fall. No need for me to stay. The last thing left, I just threw it away. Moving in God, I'm trusting you. Now there's something more fucked up I can do.
What did they win for, like best heavy metal performance or something, or what?
No, they lost that yet again to Jethro Tull.
What did they win for?
I think it's like hard rock or metal performance or something like that.
Okay.
Which is funny because, metal is or Broken's the closest you could say to them being a pure guitar, a heavy metal band. That album is strong.
Is super heavy. And when you see them play those songs live, it's just so hard, like heavier than most metal bands I've seen live.
I was gonna say, I think it kind of defines their reputation for a long time. I think was defined by that. I think to the point that when the Fragile was coming out in the new metal era, I think people were like, all right guys, here it comes, you better step aside. And then they were like, what's with all this gay piano? And everyone's getting all mad, right? Like, why is the album so long?
What was that first single? Was it The Day the Whole World Went Away?
Yeah, The Day the World Went Away, right? You're like, this was the last song I would think of choosing as a single, maybe? Like,
I would literally pick one of the instrumentals from that.
Honestly, Just Like You Could Imagine would have been a way better fucking single.
Right.
Any of those. My God, I remember thinking that when I heard that, and I was like even as a kid here, like waiting for with bated breath for a new album, and immediately being like, huh, when I heard that. When I got the actual album, I loved it, but I remember being very like, which one should we have led with to make it a success? And I just don't think that was happening. And I do believe people kind of had this very front-loaded misperception of them as like a more metal band, because it's like Broken, I think, is the big moment of consciousness for them. And then you got like maybe the March of the Pigs video and like had like a hole, but it's like the other side of it.
Also, The Perfect Drug too.
Yeah. Well, the Perfect
was a big hit.
Yeah. Well, The Perfect Drug.
Not that it's metal, but it's more like, propulsive, up tempo, energetic.
That's something that Nine Inch Nails, I think, or everyone kind of learned from Ministry, because if you go back to like Land of Rape and Honey, everyone thinks of them as like big guitar. Oh, that's when they got guitar heavy. The first 3 songs are like that because it's Stigmata, The Missing, and Deity. But the moment you get out of there, especially if you flip to the second side, because I actually had that on tape cassette I had found. When you like the Land of Rape and Honey, or like You Know What You Are, or Flashback, yes, no guitars in that, but it has the same aggression of like any heavy song of like hardcore metal.
Yeah.
The same aggression, the same abrasiveness that like a dude like that could hear this. But if he saw the guys looking like Depeche Mode and there's a bunch of keyboards, he'd be like, that shit's gay. But if you're like, oh, check this out, and you push play on it, you're like, oh, well, he's talking about shitting down a guy's neck. I guess that's okay. Like, yeah, look, I can get pissed to this. This is cool, So
I can get pissed to it. It's cool.
Yeah, I guess if I can be mad, it's like. But that leads us to basically the moment we've officially reached the alternative nation, like taking over. The old bands are all thrown out. The only other part to this equation that is super equally important would be, where the fuck was butt rock? Butt rock, prior to this, was just mainstream sounding music. It was just the shittier version of other good stuff, right? A good album comes out, well, Bruce Springsteen does Born in the USA, well, we got John Cafferty doing On the Dark Side, Listen to it and tell me you could trick someone into saying it's Springsteen. No joke, 100%. Like, even you would probably think this is Springsteen. You're like, no, it's not. So you get all these like wannabe guys. They're the kind of people who kind of come up like usually like a minute, if a little bit behind on the curve with everything. And the problem is, everything they had been doing changed overnight. Like, you're not going to copy like the major, like, you're not going to copy Guns N' Roses. You're not going to copy Motley Crue anymore, because that shit's over. Now we got to try to copy Nirvana, which is a trickier thing to do. Because most people who like Nirvana or wanted to copy them never understood what made them them. And to this day, I don't know what song of theirs they thought they were copying. You'd think It Smells Like Teen Spirit, but it's not. Nothing sounds like that.
Only Bush did that.
Yeah.
But butt rock is kind of, it's like it's the and we've kind of come to find that most genres of rock or anything adjacent to that have their own butt version.
Yes.
You've got like, so I mean, in the case of just general butt rock, like Nirvana, or Nirvana's not butt rock, but the butt rock version of Nirvana would be, something like
Live.
Candlebox, or Live, Bush. These bands that are just, they have a try hard energy. They're kind of, you can tell they're posturing, and they're like swagless.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they got no swag. That's exactly what it is. Holy shit, that's exactly it. They don't have that je ne sais quoi that defines the original bands.
So for like the butt equivalent of Pearl Jam would be Creed.
Yes, 100%. It's plotting. It doesn't have, and Pearl Jam themselves, people were accusing them of already being a butt rock grunge,
Right.
Which like, no, they really, I mean, what they were is that they had a lot of butt rock influences within their music. There's a lot of like wearing Stevie Ray Vaughan hats on stage in like 1990. There's a lot of like, which like himself is a fine artist, and also not all butt rock artists are bad. Stone Temple Pilots are a total butt rock band. When they first came out,
Seven Mary 3 are a total butt rock band. Great band.
Oh Jesus fucking Christ!
Anyway, continue. Do not protest. This is
Move on.
I want to hear your opinion. The official opinion of this podcast is that Seven Mary 3 is a good band, solely based on the one song I've heard, Cumbersome, which is not a good song, but I like it. Anyway, proceed.
Sometimes hey dude, like I fucking used to like Sponge.
What is that?
Plowed.
Yeah. When I wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save a prayer for me. Half of these band names, I want to say them like David Letterman introducing them, like holding their CD. Ladies and gentlemen, Sponge. Like that's the way he kind of, and somehow he's just introducing the band, and they go out and play, but he somehow makes it seem like he's being sarcastic. Like, is he making fun of them? I can't tell.
Better not be.
Yeah, well, not Seven Mary 3 at least.
No.
You'll be showing, you'll be
them.
throwing hands if that happens.
Well, I think he said like his favorite band was the Foo Fighters, and I would argue the Foo Fighters definitely became butt rock.
So the Foo Fighters, to me, yeah, you know what they turned into? They became Tom Petty.
Yeah.
In the sense that like every Tom Petty album
Free
had,
Fallin'.
yeah,
They just became Tom Petty Free Fallin'.
yeah,
That's it.
like in the same way that every one of his albums is like not really an essential thing to buy, but has like the one single from it. And it's the same thing, like, oh yeah, that song, okay, and then like but there's no like front to back. The first album of theirs I love still, the self-titled.
I do like that.
Yeah, I gotta cough this up. Sorry, 1 second. Oh,
Go for it. Yeah,
bro.
I'm gonna play this. Fucking disgusting. Fucking disgraceful. I'm really sorry, listener, for Jeff doing that and for me
fucking
not
lung
cutting
cancer.
it out. Fucking yeah. It's a disgrace.
What's that?
Oh, nothing.
You're gonna be talking like Frank Vincent. No,
Anyway.
but it is the butt half of the equation, and within that comes a whole lucky group of people who themselves, maybe they have very genuine interests in these kinds of things, but who knows how deep they go, right? And so that's going to bring us to this crop of bands who clearly, as far as I can see, I can't imagine any of the guys from Gravity Kills being into like Coil or Fetus or Throbbing Gristle. I could see
Right.
their industrial influences going maybe as far back as Ministry.
Yeah.
Like that to me is maybe the most, and I feel like it's primarily Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, maybe KMFDM, who we also forgot to bring up, but
KMFDM has made so many albums you could literally use them for almost every point in industrial's evolution, including where it like steered itself into a ditch after the 2000s.
yeah. KMFDM even had an industrial butt period.
Oh my god, did they ever?
They're the best. They're the best of the industrial butt bands, I would say.
Yeah, they're the industrial butt AC/DC. Like every album, you know exactly what you're going to hear before you hear it. Like
yeah, after Juke joined Jezebel, the song that changed everything.
they have one song later though that I thought was pretty fucking cool. On the one album right after, because they got the guy from Ministry, Chris Connolly, the Scottish guy. They got him on to do vocals on a few songs on it, and there's just one
MTV VJ Chris
Yeah.
Connolly.
Kurt Loder and vocals. anyway, the whole point of all of that, the whole preamble, is it's going to lead us to the butt rock thing that's funniest to me is that what makes butt rock derivative is the significantly smaller pool of influences versus the originals. So, like, grunge is a good, maybe the best in case for it, because it's probably the last real version of rock music that, like, seemed really authentically new. Take Soundgarden. Soundgarden, you can name, like, 5 different, completely different bands and all with different genres that make up the stew of Soundgarden. Like, I mean, there's the obvious things of things like Black Sabbath and, you know, stuff like that. There's like classic rock stuff. There's a lot of like really great riffs with that. But there's also like odd things like they fucking covered Devo. You know what I mean? Like, and it didn't seem like it was a joke. It felt like a very sincere thing they wanted to do.
Yeah, they're like their cover of Girl You Want. That's all slowed down.
Yeah. Like, same thing with Alice in Chains. All these people, like, they have, like, a variety of interesting influences, and so their albums could take strange detours. There will always be interesting outliers, whereas the butt version of something is literally, we're going to do 1 to 2 things, and we're going to do the Great Values brand version of the thing, of the single.
Of the singles.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not doing album tracks here, buddy. These are just replicated singles over and over again. And I'd say every one of them to a T just wants to be fucking Head Like a Hole. And I would say the best way to play this out, because I don't want to actually have to cover this in general, but the best way to play out the episode to end it would be to play fucking Sins of the Flesh by Sister Machine Gun. Because it is the most, it's like maybe the greatest example of trying to fucking write Head Like a Hole.
I haven't heard it yet, so I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. Like, actually, there's 4 or 5 separate songs on that first album that all sound exactly like they're trying to write Head Like a Hole.
And if anyone listened to the much maligned Mortal Kombat bonus episode, you'll know Sister Machine Gun.
Yes.
They had that very softcore porn sounding song on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack that seemed completely out of place.
Yes.
That Jeff and I both liked as kids for some reason. But yeah, just a little side note. We saw the response to the Mortal Kombat bonus episode. We know you didn't like it, but we're doing more.
Yeah.
We're doing more bonus shit. So
we're still plowing ahead, man. Like, you're just gonna
you're gonna have to fucking either listen to it or don't.
Listen, you're following where we lead, all right, pal.
But also please listen to our Mortal Kombat episode.
Yeah, I actually think it's pretty damn good. I understand if maybe you're like, well, you know, I could listen to you talk about a whole typo negative album. I don't have to hear you talk about a soundtrack they're barely in.
Sister Machine Gun, Sins of the Flesh. This is gonna be. Is this our little intro to
this will be
butt
intro.
Industrial?
So stay tuned, and I think our next one's we'll be kind of covering the career of Stabbing Westward. We'll just kind of do an episode on just specifically them, and we'll just kind of cover
a band we both liked. We both liked Stabbing Westward.
We cannot front on that. Yeah, like, I'll cringe at myself now, but holy shit, there was a point. You know what's funny though? I think in order of the album's release, I'll have more affection for each one the earlier they are.
I was listening to Ungod at work today, and I didn't hear a lot to like there, but when I was trying to plug in the clip of them in our last episode, I was like, all right, this chorus still kind of hits. Like, it's still just very generic, clearly reaching for that 9 Inch Nails Head Like a Hole sound, but
yep.
It's still, like, I feel like it was well enough executed that I was listening to it and being like, okay, I'm looking forward to listening to Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel again.
No, you won't be.
An album I haven't heard since I was 19, and my girlfriend, who was older than me, cheated on me and then broke up with me right after.
Oh, no.
So
then you have to-
I listened to a lot of Stabbing Western right after that.
That is maybe the worst thing to listen to post breakup. Like, it's ideal for that, but I feel like it only makes it worse.
It's just wallowing in self-pity. I was just such a fucking piece of shit.
Oh, so don't worry, man. I was in some dark places with all those albums too. Shit, I was in dark places in fucking high school with those albums over people like nothing even happened with yet.
I was a late bloomer. But.
So was I, which means I was a shitty person for a long time. You know?
Yeah. This is just a little preempting of Jeff being Me Too'd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
It's like your Kevin Smith statement.
Oh yeah, where he's like way too much like, you know, except I'm not doing something along the lines of like because of weed, you know. Which I didn't shut the fuck up about for like 5 years.
I'll blame me getting Me Too'd on weed. It's more believable for me.
It's like, aren't you straight edge? You know, like I'll blame mine on. I'll just lie and say I was really into pop punk. You know, it's just like, you know, it's just a thing we do here. I can't get in trouble for that. I'm a youth pastor now.
It comes with the territory.
Yeah.
You know?
Sorry, buddy, but them's the breaks. That's why. Why do you think we got this job? So we're gonna play out with the first, and in my opinion, one of the funniest and most obvious examples of Butt Like a Hole, which is Sins of the Flesh by Sister Machine Gun. This is, in my opinion, the best example you could possibly get. And when we return next time, whenever we do get around to this again, we will be going over the career first, I think, of Stabbing Westward. But probably one of the best, maybe one of the higher quality industrial butt bands out there.
All right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, review. Find us on the social media at Pot is Killing Me. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.